Okay, it's recording. Finally, let me check this. I went to the wrong email. It's loading right now. Yeah, got it. Okay, let's start. Is it like how long do you think it would take? But yeah, I'm slow too. So like, as a slow person, like how long do you think it would take? Like 5 hours? Okay, gotcha. All right, so do you want to go over the chapter 10 question? Yeah, it is. So basically, what is it called? Obviously because we only have like, you know, today, we can't go over everything, but my goal is to at least do chapter 10 and absorption costing today. Does that sound good? Okay, cool. Um, yeah, the thing with variance is that it's very tricky and most people get tripped up on it. Um, do you have the question pulled up? So chapter 10, question 1. Yeah, I'm also kind of pulling it up. Let's see. Yeah.
Chapter 10. So which one are we doing? Which question?
Uh,
Like the homework question 1? Or
question 1, yes. Can you hear me?
yeah, I'm looking for Thursday 11/18, I guess. Is this the Musi Mundo stuff?
No, 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 this is a sharp slicer.
No.
It's a sharp slicer question. Really sorry, it's taking me forever to pull this stuff up. I just haven't done this online in a while. Okay. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, that's the one good thing about online is that I can record it easier. So, um, and right now my computer's lagging a little bit because we're screen recording, but we're just gonna stick with it. Um, Yeah, I just recorded using a different software because I just don't want to figure out the other one right now. So I know this one works, so I'm recording it using this right here, Streamlabs. Um, all right. Um, I think it's okay. My I know mine's working, and I don't want to like mess it up. Um, all right. So I got it pulled up. So do you want to read the question for a second, and I can start it? Okay. Yeah. So remember, whenever we're doing this, we're doing sharp slicer. Whenever we see like a variance type question, you want to see this question off the bat. Um, so there's actually two parts of this question, and he doesn't really label the first part of this. So there's two things he needs to solve here, but the first part, he doesn't really ask for it in the question. He just did it separately in the class, so we're going to do that. It's a good intro to the question. And the second part is the more important part of the question. Is going to be the bulk of the points in the exam. Um, so the first part, whenever you see a variance question, you want to make these 5 headers. So on the very left, you're going to have actual results. On the other one is flexible budget variance. Next to that, we're going to have flexible budget. Next to that, we'll have sales volume variance. And to the very right, we'll have static budget. Right, so we have these 5, basically we have these 5 rows. And basically, the whole problem with this question is we have a static budget, and this static budget was basically created before the actual month, and it's kind of like a forecast, forecasting like how many units we're going to sell, what's our revenue going to be, what are the variable manufacturing costs, what are the fixed manufacturing costs, etc. Excuse me, etc. But then in the actual results, the actual result is what actually happens. Now, what we want to do here is compare our static budget, which is the forecast, to the actual results. The reason why we can't do that is because the units sold is different, right? Actual results is going to have a different amount of units sold than the forecast, and we can't compare the budgets of the two if the units sold are different. Because, for example, let's say we sold 500 toys in the forecast and we actually sold 1,000 toys, right? And we can't compare these two because the units sold are different. The material costs are going to be different, the revenues are going to be different no matter what because the units sold are different. Therefore, we got to convert the static budget, which is a forecast, into a flexible budget to adjust it to adjust it to the units sold from actual results. Therefore, we have a forecast we can accurately compare to the actual results and see what actual variances we have, and that would help us make better forecasts in the future. Um, so first of all, they gave us 2 rows, so let's fill those out first. How are you feeling so far? Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just trying to move this. Oh my god. I need to lock it. There we go. All right, so we have these 5 rows. And then on the very left, we're going to write down what they've given us, right? So they have some rows here, and they give us units sold. They give us revenues. They give us variable manufacturing costs, fixed manufacturing costs, and gross margin, right? So now I'm going to put a little, do this. And I'm going to just basically grid this out. All right, and then we'll separate these as well. There we go. All right, so there we go, right? We have actual results, we have the flexible budget variance, flexible budget, sales volume variance, and static budget. So now they give us the actual results and they give us a static budget. So let's fill out those 5 rows first, or those 2 rows first, right? So they give us the units sold and the actual results is 27275. And the static budget was 7500. And then for revenues, they have 596,550. Okay. And then they have 600K here. They have fixed costs as well. $324,000 here. Fixed costs, here's 108. On the other side is 112,000. And on the very bottom, we have the gross margin. Right, so we have 2 rows, and now we got first what we gotta do. Now we got to make a flexible budget. Now, as I said earlier, the whole point of making the flexible budget is making an adjusted forecast that can be compared to the actual results. Therefore, we can see where our forecast went wrong, where the variances, and see how we can improve our forecast in the future. Therefore, we're going to take the actual results unit sold number from, or for the flexible budget, we'll take the actual results unit sold number from there. And you got to remember, for any of these questions, you always take units sold from actual results and put it into your flexible budget. All these other numbers are going to be coming from here, or this side. We'll be converting numbers from the static budget. And we can't just copy and paste them. We got to actually convert them. So for example, for the static budget, we have 600K in revenues, right? But the units sold, we're converting it from 7,500 to 7,275, right? Therefore, we got to convert these numbers on the left or on the right, revenues, fixed costs, variable costs, to reflect that, right? So for example, for 600K, what we're going to do is do 600K divided by 7,500, and we get, what is that? Is that $80? One check. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you get 80, right? And now we have this is basically the unit price, or the unit price we're selling it for. So this is unit selling price. And then now we can use this number to multiply it by 7275 to find the new revenue. So 80 times 7275, we get 582,000. Right, so now we've done that, and now that we've done that, let's do the variance, right? So we see the sales volume variance, and what we do here is all we gotta do is take the difference between static budget and flexible budget. Now we take the difference here and we're like, okay, 600K minus 582K is 18K. Now for these variances, we also have to label them if they're favorable or unfavorable, right? Was this change favorable when we move from static to flexible? We see here, we're like, okay, so we went from making 600K, and now in this new budget, it says we're only making 582K. Therefore, that's unfavorable because we're making less money. So we'll put a little U there. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's go to the next one, right? Let's do variable cost now. So I'm going to pull out my little eraser. That's a huge eraser, Jesus Christ. All right. So yeah, now let's do the next one, right? So we had $324,000, and we're going to do that same process, right? We're going to do $324,000 divided by 7,500 to find the variable cost per unit. And we get $43.2. And then we do $43.2 times 72.75. That was really messy. And we get 314,280. And we take the difference and we see, okay, so this went from 324,000 to 314,280. Therefore, this number in the middle is going to be 9,720. And this is going to be favorable, right? Because our costs are decreasing from 324,000 to 314,000, right? That's a favorable outcome, right? We want these costs to decrease. Therefore, this is going to be favorable. And basically, when revenues increase, that's or when revenues decrease, that's unfavorable. But then when costs decrease, that's favorable, right? So that means like the revenues and the costs are inverse, right? So that's why we can't just say if it's going down, it's unfavorable all the time, right? Because revenues and costs are inverse. Next, we're going to look at the fixed costs, and we see the fixed cost in the static budget is 112,500. Now, this is actually going to stay the same in the flexible budget. You might be asking, why is that the case? Well, this is the case is because, even if units fluctuate, fixed costs are always going to stay the same, right? It doesn't matter if you're making 500 units or 5,000 units. These fixed costs are always going to stay the same, right? Therefore, we're going to get a 0 here, and it won't be favorable or unfavorable. It's just $0. And up here, I forgot to do this one, our variance for our units is 225. And that's going to be unfavorable. There are situations where it is favorable, but I'm not going to get into that. But it's unfavorable, right? Because if we make less units, we're not making as much money. And now we got to solve for our gross margins. And basically, we're just going to do 582,000 minus 314,280 minus 112,500. Boom. And then in order to find this variance here, the gross margin variance, we're just going to do this 163,500 minus this number right here. and we get 8280. And another way to solve for this is to basically, do 18,000 or do 9,720 minus 18,000, and you would get the same answer. And this is like a good way to double check your work. Also, don't include this into your calculation. Like, don't use this as like a negative to calculate, 8280, is because like this is a unit and not like a cost. That's why we can't use it. So any questions so far? Cool. So now we're on the home stretch. Now we gotta do the flexible budget variance, and this is just taking the differences, right? And now we're comparing our updated forecast to the actual results and seeing, how accurate was this, this updated forecast. If we take into consideration that, if our forecast predicted units were the same as actual results, was it really accurate? So, first up, we just look at units sold. I mean, always gonna be a 0 here, right? Because we pull units sold from actual results and we put in the flexible budget. Revenues is going to be a 14,550 variance, right? And this variance is going to be favorable, right? Because we're making more money, and more money is awesome, right? Therefore, that would be a favorable variance. Next up, we got our, variable cost variance, and we're going to do the math for that, and that's going to be 37,685, and this is going to be unfavorable, right? This is unfavorable because our variable costs are increasing, right? Our forecast predicted something, and the actual results, it actually was way higher, right? The cost is $37,000 higher, right? That's not good. That's unfavorable. We don't want to be paying more money, right? And then finally, we have the fixed costs, right? Fixed costs. Now there is a change here. There is a change. You can see that there's a difference. The reason why this is the case is because a contract dispute, stuff like that, is very minute stuff. All you gotta know is that from a flexible budget to actual results, the fixed cost can change occasionally by a little bit. But between flexible budget and static budget, those fixed costs will never change. So we're just gonna do 112,500 minus 108,398. And get 4102, and that's gonna be favorable, right? Because our fixed costs decreased. They were lower than we actually expected, right? That's awesome. We're saving money, right? And now we're going to solve for the gross margin. As I said, there's two ways of doing this. We can either, go down here and do like that, or we can do 155,220 minus 136,187, right? And that's going to get us the same answer. And as I said earlier, that's a great way to double check. It's a great way to double check. So we're just going to do that real quick. We're going to get 19,033, and that is going to be that is unfavorable, right? Because our margins are less. Our profit margins are less, or we're making less money now in the actual results compared to flexible budget. That's not good, All right. Any questions? Okay. So now that we've done that, we're going to get to the meat of the question, and that is we're going to talk about the variances in the specific departments. This is actually going to be very important in the exam. It's going to be like, I'm going to say like 10 to 15 points on the exam. So you really want to hit this home. It's one of those things where if you practice it a lot, it's pretty easy to slam out of the park, but it can be it is a little bit difficult at first. But I've made a model to make it a little bit easier on how to do it. Assist teaches it really poorly. Don't share that recording or don't share this recording with anyone. Don't let him hear me say that. But yeah, so we're gonna do let's do frames first, right? There's 3 departments. There's frames, blades, and direct manufacturing labor. So first we'll do frames, right? The frames. And we're gonna change the color a little bit. We're gonna change it to let's see, let's go for an orange. So do frames, and we're gonna go to the same process, right? We're gonna have actual results. Let's make sure we're recording. Let's double check. Okay, we're good. Just want to double check. And my audio is recording, right? Yep, we're good. Okay, cool. So we have actual results here. We're gonna have the flexible budget variance over here. And sorry, my handwriting is a little bit messy. Flexible budget. Sales volume variance. And static budget. And then on the very left, we're gonna have, so this one's a little bit different, right? Because for frames, they actually don't give us all the information. They don't give us all the rows. So we kind of got to just use what they give us and create more rows by using what they've given us, right? So this is like a little bit harder. Draw the lines here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. And we need to do, so we see they give us for frames, they give us a static budget cost, and they give us a standard input of 3 ounces per unit. So we're gonna put those first. So we're gonna put cost, and we're gonna put ounces per unit, because that's the information they give us, ounce per unit, right? So therefore, they tell us that the static budget cost is 49,500, and the ounce per unit is what is it? 3. And then in the actual cost for 55,582, or 55,872, and the ounces per unit was 3.2, right? And then finally, remember we have one more piece of information, right? Because these frames and the other products as well, the sub-products, frames, blades, and labor, they're all coming from the main. They're being used to be manufacturing the main product. And as as we see earlier in the problem, the units sold. They tell us the units sold, right? They tell us the actual results of 72.75. The static budget amount was 7,500. So we can put the units sold as a row as well. And that is going to be 7,500, or no, 72.75, right? Yeah, 72.75. And it's going to be 7,500 here. There we go, right? Awesome stuff. And then we look at here and we're like, okay, let's do some variances, right? Because, as I said earlier, we want to pull this number over from here and bring it to the right. Put this over here, and then we pull everything else from, or we pull this to the right, and then we pull these numbers over here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, to the left. So for example, the 49,500, we're going to do the same thing, right? 49,500 divided by 72.75, or divided by 7,500, sorry. I'm just getting these numbers mixed up. And we multiply that by 72.75, and then we get 48,000. Do you see how I got that? I'm just not writing it to save time. But yeah, and then also the ounces are going to stay the same. It's because these are ratios. That's why the ounces per unit is going to stay the same. Maybe I'll get into it a little bit later, and I'll send you a couple of videos on why that's the case. So you can watch that after class. But there you go. And now we can do a couple of variances, right? So we know the variance here is going to be 225, unfavorable. This is going to be 0. And then right here is going to be 1,485. And now what else do we have here? Let's see. We can do the variance here as well. So we do 55,872 minus 48,015. 7857. Variance here is 0.2. That variance is actually unfavorable because, if we're using more ounces per unit, that means we're using like more metal per frame, and that's unfavorable, right? Because we want to be, using less metal per frame. We're using less metal per frame, you're saving money, right? Using less material, right? So you're using more material per frame. That means, that's more cost. It's more cost. And we don't want that. We don't want that, right? That's not good, right? So that's going to be unfavorable. And then finally, for units sold, this is going to be 0 because it should. This when you go from here to here, it should be 0 because you pull the units sold from actual results and we input it into the flexible budget. God, my voice sounds like shit. All right, so now we have to use this information to create more rows, right? Because last time they gave us a bunch of rows, but this time we need to create rows in order to solve for all of our variances, right? So for example, we see here, we have cost, we have ounces per unit, we have units sold, and we kind of sit there and we think, we're like, okay, what can we create here? What rows can we create here? And I'm thinking like, okay, we have ounces per unit, we have units sold, therefore if we multiply these two together, you'll get total ounces, right? So let's do that, right? So we have total ounces. And let's bring these down a little bit. Oh God. I'm lagging. Give me a second. And there we go. Change the color. Right, so total ounces. So we do 3.2 times 7275. We get 23,280. And then from here, we see 3 times 7275, we get and then 3 times 7,500, and we get 22500. And then we're going to take the differences, right, because of variances, and we take the difference between actual results and flexible budget, and we get, and by the way, if variance is never negative, we just call it favorable or unfavorable, right? We get 1455 here. That is going to be unfavorable because we're using more material in the actual results compared to the flexible budget. And we do the other one, and we get 675, I believe, and that's going to be favorable because we're using less material when you compare the flexible budget to the static budget. All right, so you have total ounces, and we think again, we're like, okay, what else can we do here? What else can we do? Oh, and we're thinking like, okay, we had a total cost and we have the total ounces. Therefore, if we do total cost divided by total ounces, we will get cost per ounce, right? And this is awesome, right? This is like another row we can put. Cost per ounce. And let's see what we get. 55872 divided by 23,280. We get 2.4 there. And then we divide these two, we'll get 2.2 and 2.2, and they will stay the same because of ratios. It's going to be 0, it's going to be 0.2. That's going to be unfavorable because they're spending more money per ounce. And then now that we have our chart done, now we can actually solve for our variances, right? We can solve for our actual variances. Now I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger so we can do the variances. So let me just see how I do that. I think we go to canvas size. Which one? This one right here. So that's a 0 because so basically if we do, it's because of ratios, it's the cost per ounce is not going to change from static budget to flexible budget. So if we take this number right here divided by this number, it'll be 2.2, and we do this number divided by this number is also going to be 2.2 if you try it in a calculator. All right, cool. I'm going to just move everything so we have more room. Oh boy, that's a lot of stuff. Edit, free transform. No, that doesn't work. This. Chalkboard. Ta-da! There we go. Some cool stuff, right? Now we're going to solve for 5 variances, and I think the way I'm going to do it is correct. He has different names for the variances in his question, but then on his answer key he uses the names I use. So I'm just going to use the names he uses on his answer key, and I think you should be right, or you should be okay if you just give the variances I tell you to give and just use the same names. Those should be okay. So the first variance is going to be I think it's called activity variance. And activity variance is actually the easiest one. So we'll just do that real quick. Activity variance is going to be this minus this right here. And so let's do that. And we are going to get, I'm just freeballing this right now, but I think 6,372, I believe. And the other 2 variances, we're going to have, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. We're going to have a flexible budget variance. And a sales volume variance. And these are actually really easy. All you gotta do is look at your chart and you look at your cost and you just pull these 2 numbers. You're gonna pull this number right here, and you're gonna pull this number right here, right? So that's good. And then for your efficiency variance and input price variance, we're actually going to pull these, or we have to do this little chart to do this. And input variance, and efficiency variance, these are the 2 variances which are actually very confusing to do. Like the way Assis does them is very confusing. But then I'm going to make this little like skeleton to help you make or do these variances. So we're going to do this little chart. And basically, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we have more room. we're gonna have, there we go, a little bit more room. So on the very left, you're gonna have AQ times AP. In the middle, we're gonna have AQ times SP, and on the very right, we're gonna have SQ times SP, right?
And this is like basically our skeleton, and it's gonna help us find the efficiency variance and the input price variance.
Right? And we look here and we see, okay, so actual quantity. We look at that, right, and see like, okay, what is our actual quantity? So we go over here and we look, okay, actual quantity, that's gonna be our, our ounces, right? Our total ounces right here. So I'm gonna pull this number right here. And we're gonna multiply it by the actual price. And we see the price per ounce is $2.4. The actual quantity in the middle is going to be the same because the actual quantity doesn't change here. It's the same thing. It's the actual quantity, and the static price. So they say static price. So this is static price right here, and this is static quantity. These are we actually pulled them from the flexible budget, and you might be asking why this is the case. I'm not completely sure why they call it static, but the videos I'll send you will explain that a little bit more. But we're basically going to pull these two numbers out. So it'd be $2.2 here, and then $21.85 here, or 21.825, and then times 2.2 again. And now we're going to multiply these out. We get 55,872 here. We get 51,216 here. Now we're taking the difference between these numbers. Sorry, everybody's getting a little bit sluggish. It's a little bit early in the morning right now. And then this is going to be, the other one is going to be 51216 minus 48015, and we get 3201. So this number right here, this is our input variance, and the reason why this is our input variance, the input price variance. The reason that's the case here is because we're changing, so like as we go from here to here, we're changing the price, right? That's why we call it the input price variance. And then when we go from here to here, we change the quantity. That's why we call this efficiency variance. And I can't even write it, but we got efficiency variance. Right, that's our efficiency variance because we're changing the quantity. And the whole deal of why we find the efficiency variance and the input price variance is if we go back here, this ultimately, if we go from these two numbers, this number right here, so this number right here and this number right here, comes from these two numbers up here. This one and this one. And what we're doing is while we're finding, two different differences between as we're going from flexible budget to actual results, to see what's really causing these price spikes or price decreases, right? Is our cost per ounce, causing this price increase? Is it quantity causing this price increase or decrease in certain situations? And we can figure it out using this method, right? You can see what is really making these prices change, right? And it's a little bit like ABC costing. It's a little bit like ABC costing. But yeah, that's basically it. We'll do the blades and then we'll move on to absorption costing. Is there any questions? The chart is probably I'm gonna guess that the chart is see, I don't know. in my year, I think it was like he might adjust the points because like our like this class is like not as like they struggle more than my year, but like I think the chart will be like 10 points, and then like this variance thing right here might be 10 points. Like all the variances is like 10 points, and then like um there's gonna be like an explanation for like 5 points. But I don't know for sure. I mean, this is just like educated guess. No, 10, 10, 5. I believe. That's how you did it last year, I think. But it's such a long time ago, I can't remember. But I know for sure he had a question like this last year. It was very similar. Um, all right, so we're gonna do blades for sharp slicer, and we'll do that real quick. We'll run through one more part, just like as an extra example, and we'll go to absorption costing. Is that okay? All right, I'm gonna get some water real quick, and then we'll get back to the second part. Okay. All right, back. Let's do this. And let's do blades now. Let's plug in my iPad before it dies. There we go. I'm gonna hide all of this, and then we're gonna do the next part. Oh God. And then, all right, let's see. This too. A new blackboard. All right, let's do the next one. So blades. So we're doing blades now. I'm gonna lock this. We need blades now. Right, and remember we have a few steps. Before we do anything, we gotta make our 5 headers, right? So our 5, oh boy, I'm making it really small right now. The 5 headers is on the very left, we have actual results. We're gonna have flexible budget variance. We're gonna have flexible budget. We're gonna have sales volume variance. And we're gonna have static budget. And then we gotta do our columns and see like, okay, what we know here, they gave us the costs, right? They give us cost. They give us ounces per unit. And they give us, as you see earlier, we have the units sold, right? That's a key piece of information we always need to use. Units sold, that's from the top. And then we're gonna put a little thing here. Make this go down. And then we're gonna fill it out using the information they gave us, right? So for blades, the static cost was 139,500. And then for actual results is 150,738 ounces per unit. 7 here. That's 6. Good ratios. It's gonna be the same. 0, 1. Units sold 7275. And we pull that over because we always take units sold from actual results. It's going to be a 0. It's going to be 225. Oh boy. 25. 7,500, right? Next, we look at this and we're like, okay, what new rows can we make here? And I'm looking here, and I see, okay, if we do our ounces per unit times units sold, we're gonna get total ounces, right? So we want to do that. That's gonna be an extra row, total ounces. So do 7 times 7275. We get 50,925. We're gonna get let's see, multiply these two together. And 6 times 7,500, I believe is 45,000. And then as we know earlier, I forgot to do some variances. Let's do the variance here. This is going to be unfavorable because we're selling less units. This is unfavorable because we're using more ounces per unit. And then if we do this, we have to use ratios, remember? So it'll be 139,500 divided by 7275, and then we multiply, 139,500 divided by 7,500 to find the cost per unit, and then we multiply it by 7275 to find it for the to find the total cost for the flexible budget with the new units. And another, a quicker way of doing this is 135,500 times 7275 over 7,500. It's the same thing. I'll just do it on the bottom here real quick. You can also do this to make it quicker. Right, so we're going to do that. Now we're going to take the variances. This is going to be favorable because costs are decreasing. And then we do the other one. This is going to be unfavorable because costs are increasing, right? Now we got to do the ounces variance. It's going to be, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. This is going to be unfavorable because ounces are increasing. That means there's more material we're using in production. And the other one is 1,350. And that is unfavorable, or that's favorable because we're using less material compared to the stock budget. Now, let me turn off my phone. It is going crazy. Let's see. What else do we got here? So we look in here, we're like, okay, excuse me. We got the total cost, and we have the total ounces. Therefore, if we do total cost divided by total ounces, we'll get cost per ounce, right? That's another row we can make. And then we're going to take this number right here and then divide it by this number right here, right? Do that for all three. Are you on track, Angelo, for this? I know we're like speed through. I usually spend like much more time on this with my other students. My other student, I spent like 3 or 4 hours on this. It's a lot to digest. So now that we have that, we can do our variances, right? Wait, what do you say? Oh shit, my earphones aren't working correctly. Give me a second. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry, what do you say? Oh, you know what? I think. Wait, you're like cutting in and out. I think it's because it's just my computer's lagging. Give me a second. Yeah, my audio should be working. Okay, hello? All right, I'm gonna just keep going. I don't want to waste time. All right, so let's do. Yeah, my audio is bugging out because of my. I don't know if you can hear it, but my computer's going nuts right now. It's like the fans are just going crazy right now. So we got to find our 5 variances, right? So the first one's going to be activity variance. And activity variance, basically the total variance. We just do 150,738 minus 139,500, and we get 11238. And then for the we gotta do flexible budget variance. And the handwriting is really getting messy here. Oh boy. Sales volume variance. So flexible budget variance is going to be 15,423, and the sales volume variance 4185, and we can just pull those numbers from. Let's see. Just pull it from here and from here, right? So now that we've done that, let's keep on moving. Let's move to the input price variance and the efficiency variance, right? So let's do that. So I'm gonna erase what we just did over here, and I'm gonna make this like harder. I'm gonna make this smaller. Yeah, let's try that. Right, and remember for input price variance, we're going to use that formula, or not formula, but like kind of a skeleton, right? So we have AQ times AP on the very left. We have AQ times SP, and then SP times SQ. We take AQ from here, 50,925. AP is $2.96. And then, and then AQ again is the same number, right? It's the same thing. SQ now we're going to pull it from the flexible budget cost, so that's $3.1. SQ is right here from the flexible budget quantity. Remember this is static quantity, but we pull it from the flexible budget. 43650 times. Oh, and this should be price. This should be price. My bad. It's $3.1. Right, now let's calculate those out. Let's plug it in the good old calculator. Now we take the differences, right? We gotta take difference and the difference. This one's 7129.5. And the next one is 22,000 by 2.5. This is the input price variance, and this one right here is the efficiency variance. And the reason why this is efficiency variance is because we're changing the quantity, right? Changing quantity, or not? Yeah, we changed quantity there, and this is input price variance because we're changing the price here. All right, all good.
So yeah, that's a lot to. I know that was a lot of material in like 1 hour, but let's just keep going. Let's do absorption costing and variable costing now, and hopefully, if we have time, we can do a little bit of the master budgeting. All right, let's do that now. Oh, let me see. I will just save this just in case if you need it. I'll save it. Variance. Now let's open a new one. All right, let's now do, let's go to chapter 4, question 2. Do you want to pull that up? Well, regardless, I'll pull it up. We're going to be going to the Caribbean question. Okay, I feel like that's the best question out of all of them. All right, so let's get started, right? Do you have the question pulled up? All right, cool. Let's get started, right? So we have this Caribbean question, and they want us to find the variable and absorption costing for April, May, and June. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through one variable costing because I feel that variable costing is pretty easy and it shouldn't be too bad. So we'll run through one of those. I'm going to run through 2 absorption costing questions because that's the one where a lot of people get tripped up and it's where you lose a lot of points. Excuse me. So let's do it. I need a pen. Oh, there we go. So there we go. So let's do April absorption costing. And let's first go to, let's try green. Let's try green. So remember, with any income statement, we first start with revenue. And revenue here is going to be for April, or sorry, we should do, I want to do variable costing first. I don't know why I put absorption. It should be variable costing. So for revenue, for variable costing, it's just, we take the selling price per equipment, so that's $51.50, and we multiply that by sales, which is $1,400. And we are going to get $7 million. So I'm going to put this in parentheses. There we go. All right, there we go. So I'm just going to write my calculations here so you can see what my calculations are, and then I'm going to put the actual numbers over here. All right, and I'm going to put a little dotted line to separate them. Oh, this is messy. Okay, so now that we've done revenue, now we got to do our costs, right? And in variable costing, we actually start with our in variable costing, we start with our variable costs first. So I like doing variable costs, and I do subheadings, which is manufacturing, and we have SG&A as well. For the variable cost, we are going to do, for manufacturing, it is just the manufacturing cost per unit produced, which is 1,800. We multiply that by, let's see, we multiply that by the sales again, so that's 1,400. And we're gonna do the same thing for SG&A. SG&A is gonna be, SG&A is, where the fuck am I looking? Oh, it's 1,200. What they call the marketing costs. SG&A is basically anything besides manufacturing costs. So marketing, administrative, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all SG&A costs. And it tells us the marketing cost per unit sold is 1,200, and we multiply that by sales. Now that we've done all of our variable costs, we're going to subtract those, and then we're going to get our contribution margin. Because remember, contribution margin is revenues minus variable costs. And I'm going to subtract everything. All right, and then now we're gonna do our fixed costs, right? And we're gonna have manufacturing and SG&A. Manufacturing cost here is 1.2 million, and that's 420,000. There's no calculation for fixed costs because it's just the same thing. And then we can get our net income. That was very messy. I'm gonna do that. There we go. Any questions? I think that's like pretty simple. You just group your variable costs and fixed costs together, and then you get your CM and your net income. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to do two absorption costing questions. This is because absorption costing is much more complex. It's very easy to get tripped up. So we're going to go over that for 2 months, and hopefully that gives you enough examples to do well on the exam. So I'm going to take out my trusty little eraser tool. Or actually, I can just do this. There we go. Massive brain. All right. So let's do the April. Let's do April and June. So let's do the April absorption costing first. Right. So first of all, we are going to start off with revenues. It's not very hot. So revenues right here, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be, I'm going to actually move this down a little bit so I have more room. Okay. So revenues is going to be 1,400 times 2,000. And I'm going to put a little bit, I'm going to put a dotted line here like last time. There we go. 1,400 times 2,000. Or wait, no. Sorry. It's I am being a bot right now. The selling price is 5,150. And this is
721000, right? Now we gotta do, so in absorption costing, we group it by, instead of doing variable and fixed, we group it by cost of goods sold and everything else besides cost of goods sold. So we're gonna have one thing called cost of goods sold. And under this, we're gonna have manufacturing, or cost of goods sold is manufacturing. So we're gonna have fixed and variable underneath that. The variable cost here, it's going to be the same as last time. It's going to be 1,800 times the unit, so it's 1,400, and we get and the fixed cost is the one which is different here. Remember, we got to do the special steps for fixed cost, for absorption costs. So first of all, we're going to take the fixed cost, which is 1.2 million, and we're going to put it over 2,000. This 2,000 is planned production. And remember, the whole reason why we do this for absorption costing is because in absorption costing, the fixed manufacturing costs are based off of goods produced, and if we actually don't sell those goods, the costs are never incurred. Then the fixed costs are incurred until those each specific units are sold. So we divide that, we get 600. So then we do fixed cost. It's going to be 600 times 1,400. 600 times 1,400. And then we got to do over/under for this. So usually you want to actually group over/under and fixed together. So like what I should have done is put variable in the top and then fixed and then under/over allocated. So basically over/under allocated is basically, it's a little bit complicated to explain right now, and we don't have time for it, but over/under allocated is kind of just basically adjusting whatever we just calculated for the fixed manufacturing costs. And we use this formula right here, actual minus allocated, to solve for this. And actual is the actual fixed costs. So you pull this number right here and bring it over here. And allocated is going to be 600 times 2,000. And this 2,000 is units produced. And this is the only place where we use units produced. If you're using units produced anywhere else, you're doing something wrong, right? So, and just to point out, there's a difference between planned production and units produced. It just happened that they were the same numbers this time. But yeah, we do the calculation. This ends up being 0. So it's 0. And then I'm going to erase this stuff. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Control X. Keep writing here. Use the pen tool. Do this, and remember, revenues minus cost of goods sold is gross margin. And we're going to do 7.2 million minus those two numbers, and we are going to get is that right? Yeah, that's right.
And then we're going to do, now we're going to do SG&A, right? And then we're going to have variable. That was so messy. I'm disgusted with myself. That's variable, and that's fixed. Right, so that variable cost is going to be 1,400, which is, this is units sold divided by 1,200, which is SG&A, variable costs. And then we're going to get from that, I'm just going to make sure my recording's working. It is recording, that is good. 168,000, and then the fix is 420. And then we're going to do this. Boom! That is the net income. Let's get it. Woohoo! Any questions for that? Give me 1 second. I'll send you a text real quick. All right. Let's keep on going. So now we're going to do the May absorption costing. Or no, let's do June. I think June's better. But why am I erasing this? I think let's hide this. There we go. And let's change the color. Let's change to, that looks cool. And my computer is just losing battery right now. It is getting killed by this. So revenue for May, it's just going to be sales times the cost of goods sold, or cost per, or the selling price per unit. So that's 1,600 times 5,150, right? That's going to be my little dotted row here. Ooh, that was violent. 1,600 times 5,150. Right, and then, like last time, we're on cost of goods sold, and under that, we're gonna have variable and fixed, and then U/O, under/over allocation. The variable cost here is it is 1,800. So 1,600 is the unit sold times 1,800. And then for fixed, we gotta do that same steps, right? So we're gonna take the fixed cost of 1.2 million, and put it over the plan number. So they give it in the question. This is the plan number and production and production. This goes 600, right? So we're gonna do 600 times. And then over/under allocation. So actual
minus actual is going to be 1.2 million. We're pulling that from here. And then allocated is $600. So we pull that from there. Times the units produced. And the units produced here is 1,600. And remember, this is the only place in the question where we ever use units produced. We get 240,000. And just to let you know, if you get a negative number here, let's say you do actual minus allocated, you get a negative 500,000. So you would actually make this into a double negative makes a positive, and that would be actually added towards revenue, just as a heads up, okay? So we do that. And we are really speed running right now. This is gross margin here. 0.000 minus 2,880 0.000 minus 960,000 minus 240,000. Now we just do our SG&A costs. I'm just going to erase this stuff. Erase. Ooh, erase. So SG&A. Oh, let me try a line there. I do not care about this. Please get out of my way. Okay, there we go. SG&A. It's fixed and variable. Fixed is 420,000 and variable is 1,200 times the units sold. This is net income. All right. Any questions about that? I know that's a little bit complicated, but if you just follow the steps, it's not that bad. And in the actual exam, he might make it hard. He might make you solve for units produced and plan budget, and you just have to use logic to find it. That's really all I can say for that. Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, cool. We got like 10 minutes left. Let me check when my next appointment is coming. I think she's gonna be a little bit late, maybe. All right. So I want you, can you pull up quiz 6? We're just gonna do something really quick, and then we'll do quiz 6 question 2, and then we'll call it a day. So do you have it pulled up? It's taking me a little bit to pull it up because my computer's lagging. Give me a second. And my computer is actually dying right now. It's like, my computer is like literally losing battery. It's ridiculous. Even though it's charging. All right, so let's bang this out real quick. Okay, so question 2, and the reason why I'm going over this is even though it's an easier question, these are points you just don't want to miss. Like these are like stupid points to miss. So that's why we're going over this real quick with the time we have. So first of all, they want us to solve for the ROI. So the ROI for Cape Cod. So ROI is investment and on top is going to be return. And return is AKA that is net, or this is operating income. And let me think about this. Investment is going to be AKA, also known as assets minus liabilities, right? And sometimes assets will be, they might ask you to use average assets, and it's not in this question, but sometimes they will ask you for this. And average assets is beginning investment or beginning assets. They will either call it investment or assets. So beginning investment minus ending one over 2, right? So just as a heads up, so the ROI here will be operating income for Cape Cod is 2.110 over 19 million. That equals that'd be 11.1%. That's our ROI. Any questions? Okay, cool. So now let's do residual income. Or part 2, residual income is going to be, sorry, let's drink a lot of water. Residual income is, what am I trying to say here? Residual income is, what is the formula for that? Oh, did I fuck up earlier? Wait, let me check. Give me a second. Oh, see, I messed up here. Let's just go back real quick. I'm just rushing too much right now. Right here, you see, I actually forgot. This answer right here, you're probably going to get like -2 or -1 or even -0. Because on the quiz, we actually didn't mark any points off. You did this, but in reality, you got to do minus liabilities as well. So the liabilities here is 5.6 million. Right? So then this would be 2,110,000 minus divided by 15.75%. Sorry about that. We're just going like crazy right now. So back to the topic at hand. Residual income is going to be operating income minus asset minus, or asset minus liability times required rate of return. So rate of return. So here they're asking for the residual income for the oyster. So the oyster's operating income is 2.4 million minus assets, which is 22 million minus liabilities, which is 4.4 million. And then we're going to multiply by the rate of return, which is 12%. And we are going to get that. That's our residual income. So this is basically income we get after paying our investors their required rate of return. The reason why we have a required rate of return is because investors are putting millions of dollars into our company, right? So therefore, they want to have a return. They want to have like a 10% or 12% return. This is like predetermined. And then, so first we got to pay the investors, and whatever money we have left is residual income, and this is the profit we take. And then finally, last but not least, let's go over the oyster's RI, or for part 3 is the oyster has the opportunity to invest in Pilates equipment set that costs 3.5 million and produces a marginal increase in operating income of 500,000. Should they invest in it? Why? This part is really easy. All you literally do is first you write down, so our required rate of return, rate of return is 12%, and then the oyster, and so basically we need to see if this investment's good. So the operating income is 500K. Divide that by 3.5 million. And because 14.29% is greater than 12%, they should invest. And basically, you might be wondering why we don't take into account the previous investments and the previous operating income. These are already sunk costs and sunk profits, so we don't need to worry about that. We just look at the new investment separately, and we see if the return is higher than the required rate of return. And that's basically it for this question. I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to let you ask a couple questions, because I know the audio's not working when I'm like recording or screen recording. So I'm going to stop the sharing, and then I'm going to stop the recording as well.